Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Nurilmi. We'll be together to explore and also to learn about design thinking approach where we can use this for the process to design your space missions. The outline of this video will be, the first one is what is the design thinking process, what is the design and what is the thinking. And the next one we're going to discuss on the practical application and what are the tools that can be used throughout the process. Before we begin, let's ponder on these quotes. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. This shows the significance to learn about design thinking before you can develop an impactful solutions. Here we are. On this slide, we are going to look at the definition of design thinking. What is design thinking process? Design thinking is a human-based approach to innovation that aims to establish creative ideas and also effective business model by focusing the needs of the people. Design means that we apply any process or any method or any approach as a designer to development of innovations or any product or anything that solves the problem of human needs. And thinking is actually engaging systematically based on the fact and also analysis. And this is so practical, and we can look on economic potential also for these innovations. This is what normally the researcher does. All the analysis is based on the facts, and based on that we can design something more practical and serve the needs of the people. There is many ways in outlining the steps for this process. According to MIT Sloan website, there are 4 steps of design thinking process that can be implemented. The first one, we need to understand the problem. The next, we develop possible solutions. Then we prototype, test, and refine it. Then finally, we implement the ideas, and hopefully this will serve the needs of the people. We're going to discuss one by one of these steps so that we can have better understanding how we can execute all this process. This is the design thinking approach that we have seen in the previous slide. So we're going to understand each of this approach so that we can implement in our process to design the missions. So the first step is we need to fully understand what is the problem by listing all the requirements from the stakeholders. Stakeholders here mean that we need to look for whom that we design the products or for whom we design the missions. When we fully understand the problem, then we can develop possible solutions where we can explore a wide range of possible solutions. So this is where we need another process, which is including brainstorming. The next one, we have to prototype, and we have to test and redefine the solutions. And this process is repetitions. We repeat extensively through prototyping and testing until we found the best solutions for the problem. And finally, we implement through usual deployment mechanism. Let's discuss in detail each step and what are the tools that you can use during the process. So we go for the first step, understand the problem. First of all, you need to start questioning yourself. Who are you designed for? And what is the design problem? Or what is the problem? And what resources do you have in order to solve this problem? The question might be simple, but the answer should be in depth to help you to create your missions. For example here, for the space missions, maybe you can ask who actually you design the satellite for. For example, if you design satellite for the agriculture, for the farmers that can use the images from the satellite. So the problem that are facing by the farmers, maybe they can't really see what's a problem on their crops. By using the satellite image, they can identify the problems and also can increase the productivity because they can do anything or they can prevent the thing that can be worse for their crops. So you have to know who are the person that you design for or the mission that you design for. And what is the design problem? For example here, we have a problem of connectivity in the remote or rural area. So how you actually solve the problem? By providing the internet using satellite. So this is kind of problem that you have to solve, but by bringing or by having a satellite at the rural area for the rural area use, maybe not the final solution for the problem. So you need to design a satellite and you have to know what frequency that can be used for deliver the internet to that area. Then you have to see the resources that you have. You need to know how much actually the cost to design a product or design a satellite or design a missions or anything. And you have to think how many people need to work to solve this problem. So this question will help you to define or understand the problem that bring you for the design. So defining the problem, you can take it from your customer. It's either you listen to what customers say, and also you can look at how customer behave. From these two, you actually derive the requirements from your target audience or from the customer or from your consumer to identify and address problem at hand. For example here, we have a very big guy that need a chair to sit on. The problem now is the chair in the market is small for him. So the requirement here is to build a bigger chair that's strong enough for the man to sit on. So this is one of the way to recognize the requirement from the customer. Then we putting together all the informations from the previous stage, then we define the problem statement clearly. Here are some tools that you can use to understand the problems. The first one is observations, where you go where your user go and see what they care about. This is more to experience by yourself what actually user feels on the problem. So by wearing their shoes, you will have the idea how you can solve their problem. The next one is to conduct qualitative interview. So you hold one-to-one interview with the user and understand their attitudes on the topic you are exploring. For example, you can ask someone to tell a story about the last time they experienced the problem you are investigated, and it can provide a rich description that highlight the detail that you might not have otherwise considered. And the next one is clustering and themes. There are a lot of different ways to go about this phase, but it is safe to say that you will need a wall of sticky notes or you have to group the idea together until you find the most suitable and important themes. How you can do this? You write in ideas and see the similarities of the problem that you want to solve, or maybe the solution that you have, and you group together, and from there you refine and you find the suitable and important themes for each cluster. Then we can start develop possible solutions. What we can do is we can start with the brainstorming. What is a brainstorming? Brainstorming is where we sit together with a few people and throw out the idea in order to solve the problems. So we can take notes, all the ideas, and we try to elaborate, and we can try to extend the ideas until we can conclude one solutions. But we needed tips to get a very good brainstorming. The first one, avoid the judgments, and we need to aim for the quality, not quantity. And finally, we need to encourage the various ideas come from the team members that we are brainstorming with. Impossible idea can generate a useful solution, but you never get there if you shoot down every impractical idea from the start. Then, after ideas are collected, move into the evaluation phase. This is where you can go around the room and discuss the idea presented to get clarification if needed. And this phase is actually very creative phase and freeing phase for team, because they have permission to think out of the box before deciding what they are going to prototype. So you can throw any idea, but you have to refine that, make it practical, and also make sure that everybody is actually agreed with the idea. And this is tips to unleash your creativity. So how you unleash it? The first one is you can do a breathing and centering, meaning that you can close your eye or you feel the missions and just relax and focus on what you're trying to solve. And at the same time, you also can have mind expansions. You can look something further up, try to change the way you see the problems, look at different angles, and from here you may find something creatively to solve the problem. And the other way is creating the thought cloud. And this is where all the image, those ideas are like a cloud. You may have many of them, or you have lots of choice of the idea from your thinking or from in your mind, and just let it be there. But then you choose which one you want to stay and which one to go. For example, here we have 3 ideas. Maybe one is not possible to be done, so you leave that idea and just take 2 ideas and try to elaborate more until you make a decision which idea is the best. And this is the choice that you have to make. Then the next step is you need to prototype, test, and redefine. In this case, if you have idea, you have to make it physically visible so that you can test, or you can feel that, and you can see anything. If something is not right, and you can redefine that. Through trial and error, your team will identify which of the possible solution can best solve the identified problems, including scaled down version of the products or system in question, so you can present and get feedback from the people they are intended to serve. So prototyping, maybe you will not build any product up to the very defined that can solve any problem, but the simple one, and you can test that, give to your customer or give to the user or give to the people who has that problem, and let them try out and get the feedback from them. The goal of the prototyping is to start with the low fidelity versions, meaning that the basic or the product that have the basic to solve the problem. Or start do sketching of the intended solution and improve it over the time on the feedback. So you begin with the paper prototype, which can help you learn quickly with minimal effort. For example here, if we want to create or we design a structure for the satellite that have deployable antenna, what we can do, maybe we have to see whether this can solve the problem on deployment of antenna. So when we make a paper prototype, we can easily look on the size, and also we can physically look at the satellite and look whether it fit or is any other things that we need to change from the design. The prototype should be a realistic representations of the solutions that allow you to gain an understand of what works and what doesn't work. It is changed and updated based on the feedback from the test phase. And this is iterative cycle. So you will keep repeating, improving and test it and get the feedback until you get the best solutions. The low cost, lightweight nature are the criteria of prototypes and also allow you to develop multiple solutions to test in tandem to identify the best possible solution for meeting those unmet user needs. So this is how you can do the prototyping. So you begin with paper prototype. It should be realistic and you change and update based on the feedback. And then you test. Test is very important because our product is about users' requirements. So requirements is very important. Any design needs requirements. And even if you design the missions for the space, you need to know the requirement why you need that missions. And in testing, all of the work and information come together to test the product in the final stage. It's important to note that this is still an interactive stage. You will want to hear from your user again, and from there you get the feedback and you can improvise your product. The difference is that you are showing them your prototype to get feedback on whether or not it solved their problem. Testing is important because everything ultimately should be about the people who will use your product. And finally, in this stage, we redefine the solutions. This stage allows the not important or not suitable details to be eliminated, and we refine to create the best solution possible. You want to see what real people think about your idea. This stage actually allows for all details to be eliminated, which is not suitable to solve the problem, and we can refine it to create the best solution possible. So what you have to do in the design thinking process, you have to repeat this cycle. You have to prototype, testing, and gathering user feedback, and keep on repeating. This is iteration process that we can call it. The iteration process, we iterate that until we get the best solutions for the problem. And finally, implementations. The goal of all steps that come before this is to have the best possible solution before you implement the design. So your team will spend most of its time, its money and energy on the previous stage. The implementation is the peak of the climax of the previous 3 phases. It is important to note that you need to do the testing, experiment, and it is important to note that you need to keep do testing, experiment, and don't stop. You can expect additional repetitions and modification to the solution that until returning to a previous stage. and continue refining until you find a successful solution and implement it. Once you have done that, the design thinking process is complete. I think that's all. If you have any question, you can ask us in the forum or in the community learn. I think that's all. If you have anything, you may ask us in the platform that be given to you. Thank you.